Hi, Tanja here and welcome to TMJTV, a weekly video series aimed at real estate leaders that would love more time to grow their people and their business. Did you know that leaders spend up to 80% of their time navigating the people, performance and productivity issues within the business? Now this means their focus is off recruiting for results, delivering strategies for success and gaining the market share that they desire. Well, I'd love to help. Every single week I'm going to share insights and free downloadable tools to help you and your people achieve your success in the least amount of time. I hope you enjoy this next episode of TMJTV. Hi, Tanja here, and I'm really pleased to introduce our next guest who has 43 years experience in the industry, has built his own brand of 10 locations, around 110 people led or co-led with 6 other people, actively in the community and contributing to around 150 charities, organisations, sporting clubs and local businesses, and lives by the motto that he who makes the least mistakes wins. I'd love to introduce Brad Teal, the founder of Brad Teal Real Estate. Thank you so much for being here. That was quite a mouthful, like 43 years experience.
Yeah.
Looking good for your age.
Thank you.
You started when you were 17.
I did.
Let's start, why real estate? Why does a 17-year-old bloke go, real estate, I'm going to give that a crack?
Well, I was a water skier. That was my primary sport. Yep. And when I finished HSC, I got into town planning at RMIT. But I needed money to run my sport, and that was to run fuel for boats and travel away distances and the best water ski equipment. And so I needed income and I had to get a job. And I'd worked a lot of part-time jobs, but I was basically sick of flighting here and there, and I needed to just get a job. And I'd been working at Ted Ashton's business called Edward M. Ashton in Napier Street, Essendon, for a number of months, for about 5 months, where I would ride my bike to work and then go and collect rents and hope that I might ride up to Glenroy and pick the rents out of flats and then hope for a north wind to tail me home. So I did that, and back then it was rents collected in 1974 this is, and you'd go into shops and it was the fruiterer, the chemist, the butcher, the dressmaker, all really old-fashioned type businesses in the little strip shopping centres. Yeah. And they couldn't leave their businesses because there were no mobile phones, there was no ability to get out of the workplace and working long hours. So I used to go and collect their rents and take it all back as a 17-year-old, and that's where it all started.
Wow. And here you are, 43 years later.
Here I am, yeah.
And so 17 you started. I can completely see that vision of you on your bike going into all the different shops and them knowing you by name and those connections, which would have been great for business in the future. And then when you turned 30, you went, I'm doing my thing. We've got the date, the 13th of April, 1987.
Correct, yeah, that's right.
Talk us through, Brad, that moment where you're a young man in an industry learning, your stripes. When did you decide, I want my own thing?
Well, Mum and Dad were self-employed, so I had that.
What was their business?
They built trucks. Dad was what was called then a bodybuilder, coach builder. Okay. So he built a lot of the racehorse floats around Australia, overseas. He sent them over to the Royal Hong Kong Jockey Club and to Belmont Park in Los Angeles. And being in our own business as a family was always something that I'd grown up with. And I had that inspiration, but I had tried over 1985 and 6 at a pretty young age to buy shares in a business that I worked at. But in the end, I took the leap of faith and started my own business. And the story with that is, at the age of 29, developing the concept of opening your own business, you look back now and think, that really was brave. But I've had great people around me. My family has been a great support in that. Mum and Dad and my brothers and sister have been dominant in their influence in the tennis and the football and lodge, and Mum's a legend of her tennis club and the local association. So the Teal name had perpetuated itself, and I just came along and rode the coattails of what the other family members had done a little bit too. Yeah, absolutely. I played in the forward pocket. I was an opportunist goal sneak, and that's what life's been about.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. So you grew up with entrepreneurial blood in the family, and I'm assuming, Brad, you would have seen the trials and tribulations, of running a family business, the times it was tough, the times it was great. Would that be the case?
No, I think you only look optimistically, and only in hindsight do you say I was ill prepared, or Mum and Dad never ever let us in on those hard times, and it was only much later that I discovered there were very hard times.
But you never saw it as
I didn't see it in Mum and Dad.
Wow,
and,
that's amazing.
Yeah, there's a few revelations as time went on, and in 2005 I was really struggling, and Dad came and basically picked me up and shook me about and gave me some guidance, and it was only that entrepreneurial life experience that he'd had, and then he told me about issues that he'd had dealing with people, money, cash flow, and generally life, social, lack of sleep, kids growing up, issues, always trying to be the best provider, best husband, best father, best boss. And in the end, the impact of all of that impacts on all of us. And
it's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I learnt that from Dad, and he was brilliant in 2005. And so at pretty much the halfway point of Brad Teal Real Estate, I was a bit flaky back then, and had a couple of years of tough time, and Dad was great. So,
yeah, good on you. What's your dad's name?
Jim.
Good on you, Jim. That's awesome. So, Brad, many men and women in the industry work for somebody else and then go, I want to do my thing, which is courageous, for sure. And there is a difference between you kind of seeing your name up in lights and having the office and putting the tables and the chairs and the phones, and then you put the bums on seats. And then there's this thing called leadership. What's been the most challenging aspect of leading people for you?
That quite often you will say things and it rolls off the tongue. Can you go and do this, this, this and this? Or would you mind helping me with this or this or this? And you say it with such confidence or with such decisiveness, and you just expect that people will understand and complete.
Got it.
And there is something that is within me that I've always maintained, and that is I would rather have a high bar and be disappointed than lower my bar and never be disappointed.
Fair enough.
And so the biggest frustration of leadership can often be getting people to understand what is who you are and what drives you, and come along for the ride. And
not misinterpret your directness.
Yeah.
Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, and look, I go in real estate parlance, I'll go in and do a listing opportunity, and the people say, look, you took 25 minutes to say what you said and we get it all, but the other fellow spent 2 hours here and he had 3 shortbreads and 4 cups of coffee, and I go, well, that's not me. That I will tell you candidly what I think and give you the script that I can act out. I will not give you what I can't do. And I know emphatically what my job and my role is, and I am very decisive about that.
Do you think being decisive is a good quality of great leadership?
Absolutely. That people want to know where they stand, how they interpret. Some people interpret as arrogance, some people interpret as, oh, he's a know-all. But that's not who I am and not the way I want it to come across. But if you ask me a question, I will give you an answer. And one of the other rules that I referred to before earlier was 95-5.
Yeah, tell us about that.
95-5 is something that, like the saying, he who makes the least mistakes wins, because everybody makes mistakes. But the people who repeatedly make the same mistake, they never learn. And so learn from your mistakes.
And that's the true mistake, that we don't learn from our mistakes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so the 95-5 rule is, in a nanosecond you'll get 95% of the information in 5% of the time. But what people do, and it's a frustration of mine, is they will then take 95% of the time to collect the next 5%, and they'll come up with the same answer, because 95% is enough information to make a decision. And that business acumen is something you can't instill in someone. And that is why people need leaders who can make decisions and elicit exactly what they're talking about and the plan, and this is our objective and this is how we're going to get there. And that's what leadership is about.
Yeah, got it. So gather 95%, or you can get 95% of the information in
5% of the time, yeah.
And then make a decision.
Yeah.
So we being Lockie, our cameraman from Industry Media, we shot some videos earlier. He's just giving us the thumbs up. And I talked about a distinction called an ecology check, which is when you need to take an action or you need to make a decision in your business. You know, Brad, I'm sure in your 43-year career you've had times where you made a decision, best intentions, like, oh, benefit of hindsight, could have done it differently. Yeah. True?
Yeah.
Whether it's personal or professional. How do you, with that principle of 95-5, what are the practices or the filters or the strategies you share with your team to minimise risk without wasting time procrastinating and seeking perfection before acting? How do you, with the 95-5, try to minimise risk to the brand, clients?
Yeah, a lot of the decisions are made on that initial sweep of information, and there's not much, if anything, if ever, in the next 5% of information that will ever change your mind.
Right.
You'll know intuitively.
Got it.
And that's that word acumen again, that you will know intuitively, because for a long time I would sit in on interviews and my CEO, fantastic fellow, he would say to me, no, you can't ask that question. I would ask the people in an interview, do you like going to the races? And they'd say, yeah, I love going to the races. And I'd say, do you have a bit of a punt? And they'd say, yeah, I don't mind a bet. And I'd say, do you back the favourites, or do you back mid-range, or do you back long shots? And Brendan would be going, no, you can't ask that question. Yeah. But understanding punting gives you a bit of an insight into a person. Do they put $100 on 100 to one shot and never win? Or are they judgmental and they work out the risks, and is it a wet track, a dry track, what's the weight, what's the length of the race? And in life, just put different categories. What's the social scene? Who's here? What sort of event is it? Am I dressed correctly? Whatever, it's just changing the filters and coming up with the right answer and weighing up the odds. And that's exactly how I perform.
That's a great analogy. But it makes sense, right? Yeah. You're analysing the psychology and decision-making ability of your potential team, and seeing what they value and how do they do things.
Yeah, and what are their filters like, and do they understand? Do you do a deal at a slightly lower commission, higher advertising, lower advertising, higher commission? What are the risks in both of those? Outstanding advertising cost, will it sell quickly, lower commission, get the money in, cash flow? All of these things come in that nanosecond of intuition that is either in you or it isn't.
Do you think you've developed that intuition over the years, though, because you've had 43 years to cut your teeth, or
no,
do you think
I think fundamentally the ability to recall things is really important. Recall phone numbers, drive up the road, finger on the driving up and the fingers on the wheel at A, because you recognise the number plate. You don't know who's in the car, you recognise the number plate.
Yeah, wow.
Understanding, remembering email addresses, remembering sales from, you run into someone in the street and they say, hi, we're absolutely thrilled, we love where we've been. You bought that 30 years ago from me. Yeah. What'd you pay for that? $175,000, and bang, that instant recall of numbers and memory. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And we all get that. The Teals get that from our grandmother.
I like that. The Teals get that from their grandmother.
Well, Nana, we reckon that Nana could remember a two-card deck, and she died just before Crown Casino opened. We thought we could,
timing.
Bad timing. We could wheel her in a wheelchair and clean out the casino with her memory, and we've all been empowered with that a bit.
Wow, you'll have to go there wearing a brooch of hers on the inside of your jacket. So I know one of the things that you value, Brad, is mentoring, and you wrote to me that, and you can say this now with it being so seasoned in the game, it's not about the money, it's actually about building people.
Yeah.
So you mentor your team. Tell me, what are the 3 most important qualities of mentoring people that yield the best results from your experience and perspective?
Well, you've got to find out why they need mentoring, because you can't just pluck someone out of a room and say, I'm going to mentor you. And quite often it's the kids of mates who are lost, Sometimes it's they're distracted with gambling, drugs. They have no purpose, and part of mentoring is about finding the root cause and then giving purpose. And it might be that last year, this is only a guess, we might have employed 6 people for 3 months at a time to give them some purpose to get up, make your bed, iron your shirt, come to work, enjoy other people, go over and have a coffee with others, and try to instill in them some disciplines of life and just give them some direction. Now, most of them don't end up getting into real estate, but many of them they have some direction and they're pleased with getting advice, and they'll pop into the office, say, "G'day, how you going?" Some of them still come in on Saturdays and work with a collar and tie and do open times with us and help us out. So it's not so much about picking someone up, it's about just giving them that direction. And lack of direction is that mentoring phrase. We steer them in the right direction, that's what it's all about.
So I can hear there, like if we were to distill that to 3 things, it's connecting people, like getting clear, diagnose before you prescribe, so finding out what's going on, see that they've got a lack of purpose, and then it's really obvious, Brad, that you're investing in their self-esteem. It's not about employing people for life. They're doing a 3-month stint with you. They may come back and, you know...
I get people, young boys, a personal trainer. I walk a kid up to MJ Bale at DFO and I buy him 3 shirts and 3 ties and a pair of shoes. And pat him on the back and send him on his way. And as much as you laugh at this, but I've had the ironing board in and teach kids how to iron their shirts.
I'm not laughing. I think that's it's old-fashioned standards.
Yeah, and it's a little bit about, sometimes people get lost in the X and Y and Z, whatever generation it is, they get lost. Their aspiration will be better than they are, but they don't actually know how to be better, and they just need a little direction and push. As I say, the billy cart at the top of the hill, give them a push and away they go.
And off they go. Yeah. And you're not just talking the talk, you walk the talk with the Teal Bank. So just share with our viewers what the Teal Bank is, as briefly as you can, and the difference that it's making within your team.
With the big staff, there's always something going on. It might be someone has a gambling issue, someone's child's off the rails, money issues, divorce, just separations even, and it's written on someone's forehead that I'm in strife emotionally. But you let it go because you don't want to delve, and you let it go a bit longer, and in the end you say, bring it to the surface, what's going on? And you find out that there's issues going on at home and or financially, and I really love this job, but it's not paying my bills. Kids might be at private school, they've got cars, they've got a holiday house, and the cash flow they expected might not be there. And so what we do is we get people to go and talk to LifeWorks, who we have a subscription with, and people can go and visit LifeWorks for 3 times without us knowing.
So and people within your team...
Everyone has a card to contact LifeWorks without us knowing.
And LifeWorks is? Is
a support network for mind, emotional, addiction, well-being, all of that. And they go there, and the next 3, we are told that it's happening, but we don't know who the person is. And then after that, we're brought in for a consult about this isn't happening, or it is, we need more help, we need bigger debriefing, whatever it might be, and then we approve going on or cessation. So we work that. But the financial side of it, where it got its nickname, the Teal Bank, is you'll say, look, I'm under pressure, I haven't paid my phone bill, I haven't paid my rego, I need new tyres, there's no insurance, we have no gas at home. And we'll say, bring us your 9 unpaid accounts, we'll pay them. And then the person is dealing with their employer and 1 account. So 1 creditor, not 9. No unpaid bills, bring them to us and we look after it, and then the people offset that against commissions or salary going forward. So they're dealing with us, we're in the know, and we can apply financial and emotional assistance.
And how has that gone for you? What impact has that had?
It's not talked about openly because generally the people who are involved want it kept private.
Of course.
And so Teal Bank might have only an absolute guess, a $35,000 owing at the moment. And we'll work through that, and sometimes people leave and it's right a little bit off, but so long as they are better for it, then we're happy to contribute.
And it's great that you actually have a strategy for people's health and well-being. Clearly it's something that you value. And it's not only that you value that internally, but you're very active investing in your local communities too, across the 10 locations that you have. One of the things, Brad, that I see, you know, and certainly as I also coach people in the industry, particularly around investing in community, how do you help your people not just do the sponsorship, you know, there's a logo for a cash injection on a school, you know, fete or something. How do you really create great relationships in the community? How do you really build solid partnerships?
If you go into it with the mindset, I am entering this to make money, you will fail. The problem is that when you have not only me, my brother and other partners at work and key people, everybody knows someone who is the treasurer of the local kindergarten, or I'm president of the cricket club, or I've just become involved in the tennis club. And the first port of call is, can you help us out? Now we do newsletters, we do sponsor signs, we're on the back of jumpers, we're on the back of, or the front of cricket shirts, we're on the back of the local umpires through the northwest of Melbourne, and we sponsor the league. For 30 years we've been doing that. Wow. And it's all a part of the repetition of brand and just great awareness of, you've got to have a great social conscience. If you've got a great social conscience, the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah, great philosophy. So, same with your people. Biggest blunder?
Before I put in a CEO, I used to do all of the payroll and group tax and hiring, and I had this blind faith that everybody I employed would love working there and they'd make a success of it. But I was too busy doing the cut and thrust of real estate, and so probably didn't give induction programs and the holistic assistance that people needed. And so people came and went. But quite often you knew it wasn't going to work out, but it went on and on and on. And in the end, all it does is cost you emotional and financial and time. So we put a lot more work into hiring slower, a few more interviews. Not Brad's 7-second analysis. Yeah, they look a really good person. Just do the second interview for the sake of formality. And so we do that. But guys wear shirts. But we've got 60 women working in our organisation, so we're more than 50% employed women. So so I can't tell them.
Is that a conscious choice, Brad, or is that just kind of happened?
No, we've got a huge rent roll, and across the 10 offices, out of maybe I'm only guessing there's 25 or 26 of the property managers, there's only one guy. So the ladies, they have a uniform, and we take the fashion out of coming to work every day, and that's a cost saving too, because trying to dress fashionably has a cost. So we give a high quality fashionable uniform, and we give a whole suite of that, and they share in the cost of that, but that's taken the fashion statement and the competition of fashion out of the workplace as well.
How do you reward and recognise your people?
Lots of things. We do group work, mid-year parties, Christmas parties, individual office parties for celebrate the end of the year. We have the combined awards ceremony at the end with the best salesperson and rental and admin and the shooting star, the rising star of the year, all that. We do all that. And
are your reward and recognition programs aligned to your values, or more kind of performance and
a lot of KPI. The thing I say quite often at work is that, why does someone come and 3 months later they're gone? And I say quite often it's the system has worked them out. Their attention to detail, their dress code, their knowledge base, their comfort level isn't there. It's pretty easy to fit into my company. Lots of good people, lots of support, great systems, fantastic software systems. And this is where all the leaders in the business exist. And no one will die wondering. They're given every opportunity, and if someone doesn't survive, the system has worked them out, and they haven't survived for a reason. That's what I keep saying.
It's just not a good fit. Future for you and your business. Where do you see yourself and the Brad Teal brand in 5-10 years' time?
Well, the bank and advisors all want to know what a succession plan is, and if one more person asks me when are you going to retire, I'll clip them across the ears, because
Okay.
Life,
that wasn't on my list of questions.
No, life is good. I have plenty of holidays. I can drive my business from wherever I am.
Yeah.
I have my time away overseas, but with 24/7 real estate, 24/7 news cycle, everyone has real estate on the tip of their tongue. Have you got a good investment? What are interest rates going to do? What's the property market doing? The narrative of the economy is the best litmus test, not the historical figures of employments at this or the inflation rate is that. That's all historical. What is the narrative? When you go and buy coffee, what's is their buoyancy about the conversation? Yes, there is, everywhere you go. And that's really what will prevail in Melbourne and Sydney, that are virtually their own weather economic patterns because there are probably 10, 12 million people in the Sydney and Melbourne economic precincts and the hinterlands around of major cities. And so they're not as dependent on what's going on in Adelaide and Perth and Darwin and Brisbane as other parts of the world as well.
So I can hear in that statement and tell me if I'm off track here, but you're keeping the narrative of real estate positive and optimistic.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, positioning yourself as trusted advisors to directly inform people to make solid decisions about their well-being in the future.
And Brad Teal Real Estate going forward will have me, but it's got so many great people, it doesn't need me, but it will still have me.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
And when you do go somewhere, mowing that green grass in the sky, what is it you'd want to be most remembered for? What's your message?
What is my message? Let me think on that one. That I've been straight and fair. Yep. Straight and fair. Yep.
And simple message. No fluff. There's no fluff with you, is there?
No.
That's good. I like that. Nice and direct. People know where they stand, and certainty breeds trust.
Yep.
Final question: If you were to, look down the barrel of the camera at a young woman or man that was keen to be a Brad Teal, whether it be 3 offices or 10 offices or more, what pearl of wisdom would you give them? Where would you invite them to start if they wanted to do what you did 30 years ago?
I've still got the original budget, and I look at that every now and then. It was written on the back of a calendar with a thick texter, and I look at that sometimes and dream. And look, a couple of years ago, Bubba Watson won the US Masters, and his opening line in his award speech was, "I didn't get that far in my dreams." And that's exactly what Brad Teal Real Estate is, that you've got to build layer upon layer, and I didn't dream that I would have a company this big, and you can only do it with other people and trust in those people. And I would say little steps. So work hard, work smarter, don't be distracted, and build upon your own successes, and arrive loud, leave loud.
Arrive loud, leave loud, and dare to dream.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Correct.
Brad Teal, it's really been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Brad Teal.
I hope you found that useful. If so, please like it and share it. And if you'd like access to the free downloadable tool, just click on the available link. If you also have any questions or challenges, specifically in the area of leadership or mindset, just write it in the comments below, and where possible, I'll provide solutions to your requests. Remember, let love lead, and you can turn your workforce into the life source of your business. I'll see you next week for more TMJTV.